We are witnessing the downfall of Call of Duty in real time right now, and this just isn't an exaggeration. So many things are going wrong with the game. The situation is going from bad to worse, and so today we're gonna tab through a whole bunch of different stories here and talk about just how bad things are getting for Black Ops 6. The controversy today began when earlier on, Black Ops 6 just broke. You couldn't matchmake in multiplayer, you couldn't matchmake in zombies, and you couldn't matchmake in Warzone. It just wasn't working after an internal developer playlist was pushed live. Now, Kratos on my MrRoflWaffles subreddit posted a screenshot of what this looked like. So you had the regular map selection screen just here, but then you've got Terminus, Citadel Daymore, and then a bunch of internal developer playlists. And none of these were usable. So you couldn't load into Bloodstone's solo native scripting test, nor could you do it with Terminus or Liberty Falls. Now, for those of you that are wondering, like, what the hell is Bloodstone? Is this them leaking some kind of future zombies map or something like that? That's actually just Citadel Daymore's codename. But despite that, can you imagine how crazy it would have been, like how absolutely embarrassing it would be for Call of Duty if one of the playlists that did show up here was DLC 2 Origins remake scripting test? Like, that's legitimately the level of tragedy that we're seeing coming from the game right now, that their own internal playlists are showing up and preventing anybody from matchmaking. Like, that's just ridiculous. That's just silly. And at this time of year as well, right, when the developers are about to be going on holiday, for these sorts of massively game-breaking bugs to be going live, that's just concerning, man. So Call of Duty Updates tweeted saying, we're currently investigating this issue. Like, we recognize this, and this made me laugh, dude. Modern Warzone tweets and just says, you don't say. Like, you absolute dingbats. What are you doing here? Now, thankfully, they did fix it fairly quickly. So they then tweeted out saying, we've deployed a fix and players are now able to matchmake in the game again. And basically, they just took away those broken internal playlists and put the proper playlists back. So if it's still not working for you, just restart and you can get the latest update. But that is only the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more that is broken in the game right now. Like, let's get into it. Let's just dive straight into the details. So first of all, I showed a Laggin tweet in a previous video saying that the bugs in the game make it just completely unfun to play. Like, it completely puts you off, right? And this is just another example, coincidentally, from Laggin once again, where he waited 5 minutes for the boss to start phase 3, and it just never came out of the frozen phase. So the fight was just impossible to complete because the game glitched out. And to have done a Citadel Daymore run, which is a complex Easter egg as well, and get that far, only to have the game bug out and nothing to happen, must be so aggravating. So I'm totally sympathetic to Laggin and all of you guys that are having these bugs happen as well. Like, it's a dreadful experience. It really, truly is. Now, one sort of silver lining to all this is that because of the pressure that we put on Activision and Treyarch in my last news video, we've finally got them to update the Trello more regularly, especially for zombies. Just pausing the video for 1 second here, I just want to say something that's not super negative. It's actually pretty positive, and that's that mini Milos are currently on sale with U2s. They're only available until January, so it's a limited time here. But mini Milo comes with a whiteboard, first of all, just like the whiteboards back there, but also, if you purchase a mini Milo, you get entered into a raffle, and winners of the raffle get to play zombies with me on a map of your choosing. So I could carry you through the Blood of the Dead Easter egg, the Final Reich, like all sorts of stuff. It's completely up to you, and the way you can win that raffle is by purchasing a mini Milo while they are available. So links are in the description, guys. Make sure you don't miss out. There's a limited run of these. They're not going to be around forever. So if we zoom in here on the zombies issues, this had 3 issues on it when we last covered this and told Treyarch that they weren't paying attention to their own Trello, and that was a problem for the community. And since then, they've gotten rid of those and they've replaced them with all of these issues. So let's just go through that so that we know what Treyarch is tracking here. So they know that calling card challenges are not working, these ones here, despite the fact that they've told us that they are working and they are fixed multiple times. So this is at least going to mean that Treyarch can't gaslight us anymore that they're resolved when they know full well that they're not resolved. Second, vermin can sometimes hit twice with one attack, and I guess that might be why I'm being killed by vermin so often in this game where it doesn't feel justified at all. Like, going from 300 health to 0 in one bite feels OP when abominations don't even do that much damage when they bite, right? That just shouldn't be the case with a vermin the size of a little worm. So maybe that's the cause of that issue. Players are unable to parry an amalgam's grab. Saving and quitting before speaking to craft breaks the game. The mystic orb progress might also get broken from saving and quitting. Wisps in the light challenge can freeze visually. The light ritual mirrors occasionally can't be interacted with. Special rounds have a chance to not be disabled when entering the final encounter. Activating timeout in the the final encounter of Citadel can cause players to be respawned in the starting area and down them. The elemental sword damage in Citadel is decreased when using the Void Sheath augment. Players are unable to pick up the lightning rod in Citadel. I mean, I'm glad that they're actually aware of that one because that's been such a big problem since launch. Melee weapons can't open one of the locks from the Pack-a-Punch. Craft can speak to the player before they interact with him. In Terminus, players respawned by the timeout Gobblegum are unable to see the main quest boss's health bar, and players lose all in magazine ammo when applying armor plates. And that has an investigating tag, whereas all of the above say fixed scheduled. So that is good news. There are a lot of fixes to come. They're not here yet, but they are to come. That's good. But the fact that these are there in the first place, man. Like, Terminus and Liberty Falls launched with so few issues compared to this, and if this is going to be the pattern going forwards, where they skimp out on proper bug fixing and they launch these maps in broken states or partially broken states, it's just going to build bad will with the community. So, Treyarch, I love the fact that you're now telling us what you're fixing here in advance. That's great news. And the fact that these fixes are even coming in the first place, that's also obviously good, but the even better would be for the bugs to never have been there in the first place, right? And you did manage it for the most part with Terminus Liberty. Like, for the most part, they were in a pretty good place. So let's see that same level of quality come back for this DLC and for all DLCs going forward, please. Now, sadly, some of the reasons why there are so many bugs present are starting to come to light as well. So the Microsoft CEO in a recent investor call has said that AI innovation will help in-game development for Xbox. And they say, I think long-term as a company, we can bring the best of AI innovation, cloud innovation, console innovation, PC innovation to build the best games that can be enjoyed by gamers everywhere. And the ironic thing about this is that this is being said while we're getting six-fingered Santa Claus in Call of Duty, and while Microsoft is laying off thousands of employees after just acquiring Activision, many of whom were working in QA, that's quality assurance, that's bug fixing, and that undoubtedly is having ongoing ramifications for the problems that we're seeing on the Trello here. I have no doubt in my mind that if the QA department was untouched by all of those layoffs and the structure was as it was last year, and for example, every single lead at Treyarch still had people under them that they could point towards specific bugs and issues or be reported back to by specific people to keep tabs on various things and keep tabs on certain issues, I have no doubt we would have a less buggy game right now. No doubt whatsoever. The layoffs combined with the approach that they're taking towards AI and cutting corners in that department are obviously going to cause further issues. So it's a bit rich to say that your AI innovation is going to help when quite clearly right now it is not. Sure, in the future, I'm sure AI may have benefits that you can utilize, but right now you're cutting corners in order to get there, and that isn't helping anybody. It's just leading to slop like this. And this connects to a new Activision statement about the voice actors strike. So I've made a video talking about this already. I used my whiteboards, these ones just here, to kind of illuminate the issue for you guys so you can understand exactly what's going on. And they've now said, we respect the personal choice of these performers. Out of respect for all parties, we won't add new commentary about the ongoing negotiations with SAG-AFTRA. We look forward to a mutually beneficial outcome as soon as possible, which is the most corporate nonsense, vaporous statement I've ever read. There's no sympathy towards the voice actors. There's none towards the fans either, even. Like, the voice actors themselves, many of them have been with certain characters for all of their career, right? And to be making this choice not to strike a deal with SAG-AFTRA, not to sign an interim agreement with them, means that they are forcing those actors out of their line of work. They're forcing those actors out of the characters that they embody so well, and they're forcing us, the player base, to put up with replacements of these characters who we know are replacing them for reasons that we don't even morally agree with. So it's a dreadful situation all around, but I just wish that they'd at least have said something a bit more human here, but instead it's so lawyer speak, vaporous nothingness. Like, it's nonsense. Like, if you really respected the choice of those performers and you recognize that their needs are valid, you'd sign the interim agreement. That's what they need to do here ultimately. And something that is worth mentioning is that at the end of the day, as much as we're talking about Black Ops here, and we're talking about Treyarch, and we're even talking about Activision, part of this does fall on Microsoft's shoulders. It's going to be Microsoft's job at the very top of the food chain to sign this. So Microsoft's CEO can say everything they want about AI innovation, but to say that during this strike feels so distasteful. And ultimately, it's going to become a Microsoft problem, not an Activision problem, if this continues. Now, on top of all of that drudgery and awfulness, there's even worse things going on with Call of Duty right now, which are genuinely an existential threat for the game. Like, this is very bad. Exhibit A, Nadeshot is stepping away from Call of Duty for other games for the time being.
Call of Duty has served us up a pile of shit.
I mean, his words, not mine. The fact that he is saying this, right? This is Nadeshot. Nadeshot's career, much like mine, has absolutely 100% revolved around Call of Duty, right? And not only that, but he's got 100 Thieves, man. Like, this man is so deeply connected in this industry. And for him to be coming out with a statement like this on stream and saying the game is in the worst state it's ever been in, he's got a full YouTube video on this as well. And like, it is lethal. Like, he is very incisive with the way that he speaks about the game and the problems that it has right now. The fact that he is saying this is a really dark mark on the legacy of Black Ops 6 and just the state of Call of Duty right now. And it basically boils down to a couple of factors. Number one, it's server performance. Number two is game bugs. Number three is in-game cheaters. And number four is the fact that there's this reticence to fix all of these things in the first place. And it's not just Nadeshot who's saying this stuff as well. Swags posted a video too, which is his message to Treyarch, and in it, he echoes many of the same sentiments that Nade is experiencing, where the game is just busted. And you can look in all sorts of different places and see people resonating with this. Like, here in the corner is Nadeshot's video, Call of Duty's forcing me to quit the game. Then you've got Tim reacts to the downfall of Warzone. You look at the comment section, I'd never thought I'd say this, but Warzone 2 was in a better spot than this game. I can't believe it. Please just listen to the community. This is the reason why I've got 14 days of zombies playtime and not multiplayer in Warzone. You know, it's completely effed when even Swag doesn't want to play the game anymore and he's the COD guy. Like, it's a state. It's a real mess. And on top of that, even when we are getting bug fixes and we are getting stuff that are kind of cleaned up by Treyarch, it's causing new problems. So in this example, we've got a statement from Kingman who says, zombie speedrunning is the most popular it's ever been, but they've just got rid of the quote skip on Terminus, an incredibly niche thing that barely anybody used outside of just a couple of speedrunners. So the way this worked is that through very, very niche specific circumstances, you could trigger the game to just skip a teeny tiny bit of dialogue from Sam during the Terminus Easter egg, and that could speed your Easter egg attempt up because you could get the hacker device a little bit faster. And this affected 0% of players. Like, genuinely, no real normal player was ever going to run into this because it was too niche. It was literally just a handful of speedrunners. Maybe like 10 people were doing this. And yet, this is one of the things that they've chosen to spend time fixing. Like, it doesn't make any sense when there's that many other bugs that are in the Trello right now. This is what they're spending their time on. He goes on to say, it's just a matter of time before they force you to do the wall code on Citadel as well. The speedrun is good, but the structure is terrible if you can skip a third of an already short main quest. He goes on to say that he's now worried that they're going to do the same thing with the wall code skip in Terminus, and it genuinely kills any motivation to speedrun current maps that are available, which is going to mean that ultimately the speedrunning community, which is a really vibrant community right now, like it's really thriving in Black Ops 6, is going to completely get killed off just due to developer, neglect of the fact that they just absolutely did not need to patch this. And it's not just Kingman saying this as well. Freckleston too has said, so really, what's the point in Treyarch purposefully not patching the Terminus skips for so long, only to then patch both the wire duplication and the quote skips on the release of Citadel Day more? Like, the map's just dead now with almost nothing interesting. It makes no sense to me. Scotty chimes in and says, why are they not fixing everything? They feel completely random with no real sense of consistency. Why was Liberty fixed first? That's the cannon duplication on Liberty, but it wasn't fixed on Terminus when they did that. Then the chuck charge is still in the game and it skips a lockdown. Why is that still there? Why is half the Citadel egg skippable almost a week after and that's not touched? And you've got other people from the community as well chiming in saying, like, I feel so bad for you guys getting an insane world record and then having it instantly invalidated because Treyarch feels like fixing something out of nowhere. That's just bizarre. And sure, that's kind of par for the course for a new map like Citadel, but for Terminus, that's been out for months, and Liberty, like, why? Why bother? And Jack comments here and he says, imagine they just patch out the tram skips on Shadows randomly. Which, like, honestly, at this point, this is going to start feeling like what they're going to be doing. They're just going to be going back and randomly, arbitrarily fixing things that don't need fixing. And he goes on to say, it just kills the scene. What's the point in me playing for good times on Citadel if they're just going to decide to patch something in a week that changes the run drastically? And I'm totally sympathetic to this. There is no point, right? It's going to just ruin the speedrunning scene. And granted, there's always going to be a bit of push-pull here where they need to fix the game initially, so certain things will need to change, because if there's game-breaking stuff, that's got to be resolved. But it's the scenarios where nobody is having a bad time because you can do a quote skip on Terminus. Nobody! And then when they arbitrarily patch that, all the speedrunning leaderboards have to be reset. And in a year or so, where Treyarch has come along and said, we're going to pay a little bit more attention to the hardcore community this year. We're going to make high rounds harder in new ways. We're going to pay some attention to some of these more niche parts of the community. When you do stuff like this, it shows that you are lying. That's just just straight up what it does. It shows that it's all lies. It's all PR, marketing, nonsense, rather than actual meaningful stuff. Imagine if they came forward in patch notes and said, we've changed the terminus quote skip. We're actually going to revert this because we've seen that you guys are commenting on it and we know that it's a problem for you guys and like our bad and we are paying attention to the speedrunners. Imagine how good that would be, but instead, no, we get silence. It's just more frustrating comms or lack thereof from Call of Duty, man. And so amongst all of this, right, both on the multiplayer side and the Warzone side and the zombies side, I tweeted and I said, I've seen a ton of creators posting they're really unhappy with the state of Black Ops 6. Who could I bring onto the No Nonsense podcast to talk through it all? And at some point, I'd love to talk to Nadeshot. I'd love to talk to Swag. Like, it would be really amazing to get those guys on at some point just to sort of yap about the game. But for the time being, Hunter hit me up basically straight away and said, me, and I'm like, okay, let's run it. Like, let's make it happen. So linked on screen right here is an hour-plus podcast with Hunter where we break down a bunch of the problems with the game right now, and we put a bit of pressure on Treyarch and Activision to actually sort things out at last. But I also just did a collaboration with Fortnite on their new ballistic FPS mode, which is literally trying to compete with Call of Duty. So I've got a video over here for that as well. So click through to the one that you want to watch, guys, and I'll see you there.